and we'll make the profit, and hopefully we'll be able to cover our deficit. Our first year, we made that, the concert made $36,000. So we exactly covered our deficit. Every year, obviously, the deficit grew. At one point, I was kind of stuck with the task of having to really reach out to people and make new connections. And so, I did what a lot of people in my shoes do. They make cold emails. They have to, you get an email address from somebody who's stuck, and you have to send an email, and you have to try to make a pitch and describe what you're doing, and hopefully they'll understand, and they won't ignore your email, or it won't just get passed along. And 2 years ago, one such person that I emailed was Mr. Ellie Nash. Ellie's a very, very generous person. He's given funds to the school, he's established our scholarship fund, he's been part of a match grant, he's done all sorts of things to really boost our bottom line, and I'm proud to say that this year we had a deficit close to $400,000 that Baruch Hashem we closed, and stayed on top of every single bill and worked really hard to make that happen with Ellie's help. Here to honor Ellie Nash for giving us a lot of tzedakah, even though I think tzedakah is one of the most beautiful things in the world. Ellie one time sent me an email and he said something like this. He said, you have what the connection is between integrity and integrated? You ever notice it's part of the same word? Integrity and integrated, right? To be a person of integrity is to be somebody who's fully integrated, whose all aspects of themselves are in line, fit. That's actually one of the visions of our school. We talk about shlemus. We talk about this idea of being a holistic education for our children, an education where every aspect of this world is reflected in what they learn. Every aspect of themselves is reflected in their school experience. If a child loves math, art, Chumash, if a child loves to run, animals, whatever it may be, there's a place for that in the classroom because it's all part of Hashem's world. And Ellie is that person of incredible integrity, who's very integrated and holistic in his perception of the world. And not only has he been somebody who has been an incredibly dedicated supporter, someone that I've been able to come to through thick and thin, become my friend, become someone that I really look up to, who's always been a source of wisdom and inspiration for me, and really exemplifies what we're doing here. And I remember there was shift in language when it went from your school to our school. I feel that way. I feel like it's our school. And I feel like it's our vision. I feel like it's our movement. And we're lucky to have people like Ellie as part of our team. But I want to say before I call Ellie up on stage that I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. Some of you are educators, some of you are parents, some of you are community members. All of you are friends. And I hope that you all understand now the urgency of what we're doing. When we were making this video, I kept on saying to Yankee, I was like, it has to be understood that this is not just about one school. If you guys get the impression that we're this cute little mom and pop shop on Eastern Parkway with pretty walls and everything's going great, and everything's fine, and we're just trucking along and come to our dinner and everything's great, that's wrong. We are at a point right now where we are ready to really take our school to the next level. We're at a point right now where we're looking for stability and sustainability and a real home. We had 70 children on our wait list this year. No, we wanted to say yes. We wanted to say yes, but we couldn't because we don't have the space. And this is hard. It's hard to so badly want to give what you have and that what you're working towards and what the people around you you love so much are working towards, and you can't share it further. And yes, we have people visiting our school, and we've had so many phone calls. Actually, someone came from Florida a couple weeks ago. They took lucky because, like, my husband is a Baal sucker. And I remember when we were destitute, but Hashem blessed us. And we have this thing that we say, like, Lamplighter's miracles. Oh, another Lamplighter's miracle, another Lamplighter's miracle. And it's truly true. There were always miracles along the way. And one of the Lamplighter's miracles was that as soon as we started giving stuff at the school, right? We started seeing bracha. And Ellie's another Lamplighter's miracle. And I really want that we should all sort of become inspired by what it is for somebody who really is passionate about such a special cause. So I want to invite Mr. Ellie Nash. This beautiful glass sculpture was created by an artist in Israel, and it represents licks of light, and it's our Luminary Award. And I want to say thank you, Ellie, for being a luminary, and I'm so proud.
Introduction, if you find that I'm you might be disappointed. I want to say thank you to a few people who came out tonight, of course, my family, my parents, siblings, my brother, who also didn't want to be mentioned, but he was tonight. He's also been a supporter of Lamplighter's. And hopefully continues to be. I also wanted to say thank you to Mayor Seawald. Mayor's my hero, changed my life. Thank you.
Wow.
I wanted to share a story about my mother. Something that really inspired me, probably the most inspirational story. Something that changed my life. My mother was a teacher in Beis Rivka. A lot of people know that she was a French teacher in Beis Rivka. She actually said the reason she was a French teacher was in the hope of meeting girls of her sons. Didn't get married, but didn't work out. God had other plans. So, at one point, Beis Rivka Yeshiva went on a strike, and I believe all the teachers went on a strike, and my mother said that she won't go on a strike because she's not in the job to make money, so she's not going to leave for money. And that story changed me. I said that I'm going to go to a job that makes money. Thanks. Thank you. My mother, and I'm sure several others, I keep referencing my mother on Father's Day, but my mother said I don't. My mother, and I'm sure several others, can attest to the fact that I struggle with a sort of stage fright that some may refer to as paralyzing. I wasn't willing to confront it until I realized that it wasn't actually the fear of standing in front of people that kept me from standing in front of people and talking. It was a sense of embarrassment that I thought I would feel if people found that I was nervous. So now I'm no longer embarrassed, I'm nervous. Life is great. I appreciate the clapping. It gives me time to think about the next line. I actually have an iPhone to help me with the notes. I didn't have an iPad, and Moishi has been outshining me since our days in school. It's okay. For anyone here with extreme stage fright, I strongly encourage you guys to speak as often as possible in front of as many people as possible. It's an exhilarating feeling. I'm fairly certain that there are few things in life that make us feel as alive as facing our fears. I also hope to be able to encourage everyone here to face a fear of their own. We all have them. Let's face them. This way, if I speak too quickly to get a message across to you through my words, at least my actions will have inspired you. I believe the technical term for what I just did there is called being a lamplighter. I'm really grateful for this opportunity I have to be a partner with Lamplighters. Each and every time I see my name associated with this school, Morris School, this revolution, I'm filled with both gratitude and pride. Although I grew up in Crown Heights, I moved away in more ways than one about 10 years ago. That thought that Yocheved shared about integration, I was actually sharing as a struggle, not something that I think I have. So but I'm glad you're able to bring that around for me. While I've always been incredibly impressed, oh, it's that nose. While I've always been incredibly impressed by the work of Chabad's outreach movement, I didn't see a lot of that same passion and innovation in Chabad's inreach movement. To my mind, we had become stagnant, passive, and worst of all, apathetic. Midway through 2012, about 2 years ago, I received an email from Yocheved Seidel introducing both herself and Lamplighters. As it happens, by coincidence of course, I'd received a tour of a non-Jewish Montessori school based in Miami only several weeks before. I couldn't help but wonder kind of what my life would have been like with Montessori. Whoever put that presentation together was pretty awesome. Maisha, I know you're talking to engineers. If you can find some to work in a time machine, bring me back and I want Rabbi Hellinger as my teacher. It's amazing to me that in only 2 years since our initial conversations, the school has gone from barely surviving to absolutely thriving. Now, to be sure, the question of survival never came from those within Lamplighter's themselves. I'll do my best to quote an email. I'm sure it was written by Yocheved, but it was signed by Yocheved and Yaakov Shapiro. And it said as follows: "Let us reassure you that failure is not an option for us. Too many children have gone far too long without a rewarding and positive educational experience. We will not even allow ourselves to speak such a word." Last year at the dinner, way before I considered facing my fears of public speaking, many made note of the fact that Yocheved was a difficult person to say no to. I kind of found it out this year, but at the time, I didn't really know what people meant because I never really wanted to say no. As soon as I met Yocheved and the Shacks, I knew I wanted to be a part of this. It just felt right. I was sure Moshe wasn't going to speak tonight, and I actually had a line in my speech about that maybe he should get up and speak if his reason that he doesn't is fear-based in any way, but he spoke. I actually had another line in my speech about the little mention that Yossi Seidel gets, so I'm going to skip a little and go for it. One more mention: behind every great organization stands an equally awesome administrative director, Chaya Rockford. Dare I say, you rock. Unlike any school I've seen, Lamplighter's has a strong culture of community embedded in its very fabric. After all, it was started by several parents who came together to give their own children a better education. To me, this is the secret to the passion. It's almost like a startup mentality that exists for anyone who walks into school. And to me, that's a secret. It's the families behind it. It's so much more than a job to the people there. This is about the future of their own families. And yes, my friend Izzy is world-renowned speaker, Izzy Azagui. He told me that as slow as I think I'm speaking, I'm actually speaking fast. Just go slower. So thank you for the tip. New parents who join the school are also encouraged to get as involved as intimately as possible with the school. My brother-in-law Shmari and Khani, feel free to get involved with the school. I recall when I was growing up, my mother, I know, we have a good relationship. My mother had a habit of calling the schools I was in relatively often to see how I was doing. I'm sure she did it with the other kids as well, but I knew about mine. She developed somewhat of a reputation for this because it wasn't all that common for other parents to see how their kids were doing. Now, I don't believe the other parents didn't call because they weren't interested in how their kids were doing. I believe the school sent a message that they viewed parental involvement as a nuisance. So Lamplighter's is different. They encourage parents to get involved. After all, that's their secret sauce, a body of parents which came together to give a better education to their children. Other schools had the mentality of come to PTA once a year, we'll call you up if your kid's in trouble so you can pick them up. But the only real information the school wanted from the parents was when they can deposit the next tuition check. I have a lot of respect and admiration for the first wave of parents who joined the school and took a risk on the school. If not for them, this beautiful school wouldn't exist. So, whoever those parents are, hands together for them. Unfortunately, while this is perhaps one of the most essential ingredients to Lamplighter's success, it will also possibly be difficult to retain. I strongly encourage the parents who are here to be as involved with the school as possible. I feel like I may be preaching to the choir because the parents who are here are probably the ones who are more involved. In that case, get the message to the other parents. Get involved, be involved, stay involved. It does make a difference. If there's one prayer I have for the school, it's that as they continue to grow, they never view parental involvement as a nuisance. You guys got to keep clapping. Allow me to share with you what I find most compelling about Lamplighters. If I had to describe them in one word, it's the word courageous. From the very beginning, they've never been afraid to stand up and challenge the status quo. While it was apparent to pretty much everyone, if you're not sure what to do, just clap. It's too long, just clap. While it was apparent to pretty much everyone who cared that a radical change was needed in the Crown Heights educational system, very few were willing to put their neck on the line to do anything about it. I read that there was a fascinating experiment done with 5 monkeys. I did a little more research. This experiment never happened, but it drives home a good point, and I'll share it with you. There were 5 monkeys, some of you may know this, there were 5 monkeys which were put into a room. Sitting in the middle of the room was a ladder with a banana perched on the top step. As the monkeys tried to reach the banana, all the monkeys in the room were sprayed with freezing cold water, and each and every time they tried to climb, they were sprayed with freezing cold water. Don't clap there. Each and every time they tried to climb, they were sprayed with freezing cold water. After a while, it was no longer necessary for the researchers to spray them with water. The monkeys knew. Don't go for the banana, it's the forbidden fruit. And if any of the monkeys tried, they were beaten up by the other monkeys. After this, the researchers went ahead and changed out one monkey at a time. With each monkey that came in, they tried to reach a banana, and they were stopped by the other monkeys. After changing all of the monkeys in the room, and not a single one of those monkeys were sprayed by the water, and knew why climbing the ladder wasn't a good idea, they still didn't try to do it. Any of them which tried to do it were beaten up by the other monkeys. Well, like I said, this isn't true. It sends a strong message of conformity. It is based on a real research study, slightly different. Any event, for these monkeys, that became the status quo. Do not try to climb the ladder. And if you do so, you will be beaten up by the other monkeys, but we don't really know why. Let me give you an example of what I mean by this. There's a school which once called me for support. I don't support all the schools who call me. I don't respond to all the emails the way I did to Yocheved. There was a school which called me for support, and I began to ask questions about the school. And one of the questions I asked was whether or not they offer a secular education. The administrator responded that they do, but that many children opt out. I then asked if the students who opted out of secular education were taught the English language. I insisted that I wasn't trying to weigh in on the debate of whether or not Chabad children should receive a secular education or not. I was simply trying to understand the breadth with which they define the word secular. he responded that because in Alatura, which was a school that was under the guidance and direction of the Rebbe, they didn't teach English, he didn't do that in this school either. I asked him, I can also be persistent, and I asked him if the teachers here spoke in Yiddish the same way they did in Alatura, and he responded that they did not, they spoke in English. Believe it or not, they spoke in secular. So I asked him, I said, what language are these kids learning? They certainly will not learn to read, write, think, or express themselves in Yiddish, as their teachers don't speak Yiddish. But they also will not learn to read, write, think, or express themselves in English because it's secular. It's become forbidden fruit, and no one knows why. There must be 1,000 kids in the school. How many of them are walking out completely illiterate, and no one's asking why? I'm not here to knock the other school. Very few people can stand up to everyone in the room and risk ridicule, judgment, and attack. But Lamplighters can, and Lamplighters has. And occasionally, as they do so, they are attacked. I am proud to not only be a supporter of Lamplighters, but a vocal one as well, insisting, imploring, and demanding that they are congratulated and encouraged as they climb the ladder to success. Thank you.